You're listening to the Sass Says podcast. I'm your host, Christy Rocha, also known as Sass. I identify as a woman, a wife, and a mother. That should tell you a lot already. And over the last few years, I've learned the value of talk therapy. I have seen how my inner work not only enhances my own well-being, but also my marriage, my parenting, my relationships. And in fact, you wouldn't be hearing this right now if it weren't for the work I've done. My mission is to debunk the misconceptions and stigmas around what therapy is and who it's for. Let's normalize working on our mental health and seeking help when needed. We've all heard of self-care, self-help, and self-love, but do you often wonder how to actually make it all happen? I do. You'll hear strategy-based conversations with professionals, as well as inspiring and validating stories from women who are just like you and me. Think of this podcast as the weekly therapy sessions you didn't know you needed, with a dash of sass, a lot of vulnerability, and me, relentlessly asking, but how? Hello. Welcome to the show. You know I'm always excited for you to hear my conversations, but this one feels a little extra special. I interviewed this fantastic person about a month ago, and since then we've connected twice. Once on an Instagram Live, and then again on a one-on-one discovery call where I wanted to learn a lot more about what she does and how she does it. So, Lindsey Kaszuba, I know you're going to love her as much as I do, is an Integrative Nutrition Health Coach, founder of Lindsey Kaszuba Health, and creator of Health Club Collective. Lindsey guides her clients and members in creating healthy habits in the most simple way so that they can feel great today and every day. She focuses on integrating health and lifestyle through nutrition, movement, mindset, and habit formation. Lindsey lives in NYC with her husband, 2 daughters, and Italian Greyhound. She also recently shared on her social media that they are expecting again. Congratulations, Mama. She loves fashion, traveling, deep connections, her morning coffee, checking items off her to-do list, and all things self-development. I feel like I'm reading my own biography. Anyway, okay, so today, Lindsey and I have an amazing talk about habits, meditation, finding your passion. And what's really interesting is we talk quite a bit about understanding the role that our minds play versus the role that our bodies play, particularly when it comes to nutrition. So as always, stay tuned after for my final thoughts. And here is Lindsey. Hey, Lindsey. Thanks for being here. Nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I usually give this morning, sometimes off air, sometimes on, but these types of conversations, especially when it comes to health and nutrition and body, almost always end up as like a mini coaching session for me. So you got your work cut out for you today.
I love it. Let's do it.
So just straight from your bio, an integrative nutrition health coach. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah. So people are always like, are you a nutritionist? I'm like,
Right.
no, I'm not a nutritionist. Nutritionists really focus solely on your food consumption, what you should eat. They help you meal plan. They tell you how many carbs, how much fat, how much protein. They really break that down. An integrative nutrition health coach is, well, a health coach in general is the full picture of your lifestyle. And so really kind of the biggest difference is we don't just focus on food. And that's a common misconception because it has nutrition health coach in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so integrative is really just, it's a holistic approach. It's mind, body, soul, because it all affects your health. And so it's not just food. We, of course, talk about food, but it's also movement. It's a lot of mindset. I focus a lot on habit formation because the habits that you do throughout your day make up your lifestyle. And ultimately, they become your identity. And so I do a large focus on the habits that you do throughout your day. And so integrative is really just, it's the full picture. It's mind, body, spirit.
Okay. Which way do I want to go? Okay. Why get into this work? Let's start there.
So it was a journey. I always had a passion for health and wellness my whole life. And I always said when I was younger, when I was in high school, I was like, I want to help people, but I don't know how. I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a nurse. I don't want to be a veterinarian. Like, I don't know what to do. How do I help people? And so I just kind of released that idea and followed my path and I focused on fashion because I really love fashion. So I went to school, got a degree in fashion merchandising and business administration, moved to New York City from Florida and started working in fashion, started working in PR, fell into styling, started doing retail management, and ultimately kind of worked my way through the ladder and became a director of business development and operations and built out physical spaces. And it was great. It was very, very good at my job. And then COVID hit. And like many other people was like, okay, I am good at my job. I enjoy my job, but this is not my purpose for why I'm on earth. I am not supposed to be doing this with my life. So I really dialed it back and I was like, what do I enjoy? What do I really want to do? And so I was like, I love health and nutrition and wellness. And so even pre-COVID, I was like, I'm going to get a certification in nutrition health coaching for myself. Had zero intentions of becoming a health coach and actually doing this with people. And so I was like, I just want to learn more for me and my family. I want to improve my nutrition. I want to improve my health and wellness journey. And very, very quickly into the program, I was like, wait, I had this light bulb moment where I was like, this is it. Like, this is how I can combine my interests and my passions I've had my entire life and years of research that I've done for myself with a career. And so then I kind of was like, okay, what can we do? How can we turn this into a business? Like, my original plan was, let's just do this on the side. And then it very quickly became like, no, this is a full picture vision. Like, let's just go for it. And so that's kind of how we ended up here. And so I launched my business a couple of years ago, like right pandemic business baby. And it's been amazing. It's like been such a fulfilling, incredible passion project, but also just something that I just feel so fueled by every single day.
That's amazing. I think that it's, and I've said this before on the show, but I remember a couple of years ago, like being at a point where, I think I was on maternity leave from a job that I knew I wasn't going to go back to. Like, it was a corporate something I fell into. And I think I remember getting to a point where I was on a walk with my kid, pushing the stroller and Googling, how do you find your passion? Like, how do you figure it out? Like, it was always like I knew I had something to say. I knew I wanted to do something, but there was no course in school. There was no extracurricular, and it wasn't for lack of trying that ever felt like, that's
This was
it,
it.
and I, just to sort of tie that in a bow for me, like, I remember then, like, fast forwarding, to before I started this show, I just started like going on Instagram and like talking about what was going on mental health wise. It was during the pandemic and this and that. And I knew it was right because I didn't care if anyone saw it. I was like, oh, I'm
It
just
felt
doing this for
natural.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, I want to go back for a moment. I'm sure this is not exactly what you want to talk about, but I'm curious. It's been years now, but I had a couple of internships and stints in fashion, if you will. And it's a tough industry. And I'm wondering if did your time in that industry at all influence you to do the work you do today? Like, what did you, what I'm getting at really, and let me just be straight with you. What I'm getting at is that if I'm really honest with myself, part of why I did not stick with fashion is because I did not feel like I looked like the girls who were good at it. And so now here you are, like, helping women step into their power, step into their bodies, focusing on all of this health, wealth, all the things. I'm curious your thoughts on anything I just said and like any connections for you there.
Yeah. I mean, I think it definitely, honestly, much like social media these days,
Yeah.
it definitely puts you into your appearance is important mindset
Mm,
and just exasperates that. And so, I mean, I I've done lots of different avenues in fashion. I did styling. I like during fashion weeks in New York, it would help with casting. And of course, you're like surrounded with beautiful models
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
beautiful clothes and designers and all of these fun things. And it really did kind of suck me in, where I was like, okay, I need the newest thing. I have to wear the newest dress, and I have to wear these shoes, and I have to be this certain weight, and I have to look like this, and I have to do da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it definitely threw me farther into that hole than probably would have if I were not in that industry.
Mm-hmm.
And that was honestly that's been part of my healing journey, ultimately, of healing myself, but my relationship with my body has been a big piece of that. Because yeah, I mean, not everyone is 6 feet tall and 105 pounds, like, nor should they be. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it definitely just kind of put me farther into that mindset. And that's been a big part of what I do. And so many people that I talk to get into that mindset of like, well, I don't look like this, or I'm not this number on the scale. And my thing now, because it's helped me tremendously in my own life, is helping people heal from that mindset of you're not them. That's not you. You are your own person. Everyone isn't a bio individual. Nutrition, fitness, none of it. Health and wellness is not a one size fits all approach. It's just not. And so it's really, now I'm like, okay, when I ditched all the rules, like the unspoken diet culture, very toxic rules, that's when I started feeling my best. That's when I found the movement that I was like, oh, this is way slower than I ever thought it would be, but like makes me feel really good. This is when I allowed myself to eat food that I actually wanted instead of being so restrictive. And when I started like really letting go of all those rules, that's when I like stepped into my best self, my best body after kids, my best movement practice where I feel strong and energized. And it just like really allowed me to create this lifestyle of habits that lift me up and make me feel good, but also make me feel like me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to impersonate someone else. I'm not trying to copy someone else's style. I'm not trying to copy what they eat.
Yeah.
So that was a long-winded answer, but yes,
No,
definitely. I think being in the fashion industry, it really, you have to have a very strong mindset. And at the time I didn't know that was like a thing.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask you about how you did all of those things in a second, but I want to clarify for anyone listening that maybe can only imagine what we're talking about. Like I I have like a very vivid memory of being an intern, and it was on a fashion like television show, and that's no longer on the air, but there were a couple of us interns, and they wanted someone to like stand in and try something on for camera and blah 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 to see how it would look. And like it's so cutthroat. Like it's literally like someone higher up just looked, and they like looked at all of the interns, and they're like, too big, too big, too big. Okay, small enough, got it. Like it's that like
Yeah.
brutal. And like that's not even the most brutal that I've heard of from like friends and things. Like yeah, it just, and I remember I remember um I helped my brother was a makeup artist, and I helped him on one of the Diane von Furstenberg's New York shows. And he literally like had me putting lotion on models before they went down the runway. And like some of them were so nice, and some of them were just like, what? Like where's
It's like
it?
people in general. You're like run into people and you're
Oh
like,
my
how are you
God.
so rude?
Yeah. And my point in sharing all this is like it's work, but like somehow it always found a way to like cut me to the core.
Yeah.
Like, and I've just, and at some point I decided I love this. And so I'll just be a person behind the scenes because, it's like so messed up. Like I was like 20 and in phenomenal shape. So
That's the thing. To them,
ridiculous.
it's business. To them, it doesn't mean
Yes.
anything. And then when
Yes.
you're the person of target, you're like,
Right.
I will remember this moment for the rest of my life because you
Exactly.
just told me I was too big to fit into those clothes.
Yeah.
It's moments like that that have such a profound impact on us, and especially our mental health, and moments that you will remember forever, but moments that hopefully help in the healing process of why does this bother me so much? And it's like kind of like getting to the point, especially when you have moments like that are so profound in your memory
Mm-hmm.
of like, what can I do to heal that part of me that felt so offended?
Yeah.
And so like that, and like this work is fascinating to me. It is
Yeah.
fascinating because so much of our mindset is what affects our daily decisions.
Yeah.
And it's things like that, and especially at the time, I'm sure that comment affected your decisions that day and in the days leading up or post,
100.
right? Like, and now maybe
100.
not, but you remember it,
Yeah.
every single detail that happened.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it can be really part of the healing process.
Yeah.
But it is a cutthroat industry for sure. For
I just
sure.
remember like the combination of feeling bigger, and I wasn't big, so like I need to keep saying that, but like feeling bigger, but also just like being the intern and the grunt, it was like no one saw you, you know. Anyway, all right, let's move off of it because I could just I'm gonna be
Talk about it
healing
all
my own trauma right
day.
here. Okay, so you talked about like ditching the rules, kind of like breaking free, like how did you actually do that? What did you actually do to start your healing process and like your self-development and all that, it sounds like?
Yeah. So, I mean, I started getting curious about it before kids. Was just like, okay, I've been doing, like, I was a person that was extremely restrictive with my food. Like, carbs were the devil, wouldn't eat them. And if I did, I would feel horrible about myself.
Mhm.
Like, no bread basket at the dinner table. And I remember so vividly
Everyone
the
has a
first,
breadbasket
everyone
story.
has a bread basket. Everyone has a bread basket. But I remember so vividly, I was out with two girlfriends and was like, I'm going to have the bread tonight and I'm going to add butter to it. And
I
I was
know. It's
like,
like
and then
wild.
I had this bread and butter and I was literally like, this is the best thing I've ever had in my entire life. And I was like, this must be like hand churned butter. Like they must have made it in house. And we asked the server and he's like, nope, it's stick butter. I will never forget that moment because I was like, I've been denying myself bread and butter for how many years because of what?
Yeah.
And and I think that was, I don't know if that was the start, but really when I had kids,
Mm.
I started realizing, okay, all the things that I did before were no longer realistic. Like how I worked out, no longer realistic. How I ate I didn't want to eat like that anymore. I didn't want to be so restrictive, and I have girls. And so that was a really important thing to me is I want to raise girls that are confident in their bodies.
Mm.
And it starts with me. And
Mhm.
they are going to look at themselves in the mirror how I look at myself in the mirror. And that was very apparent to me from day one of being a parent. And so I think it really started, I started reflecting at that point of, and like losing baby weight, that is a whole mental load of itself. And
Mhm.
so really that process was a huge learning curve for me. And even looking back from my first daughter, who's a little over 4, to my second daughter, who's 2, even the healing journeys postpartum for those two were totally different because I kind of had gone on this whole healing journey. I'm a fairly aware person to begin with. And
Mhm.
so I think it really started with just asking myself why. Like, why was I doing that? Why was I being restrictive with my food? Did it even feel good to me? And when I started getting really honest with that, I also started a meditation practice kind of around the same time, which I think had a lot to do with it because meditation just, I don't know if you meditate, but it just brings you to this place where you're like, this is me.
Mm.
There's no one else here right now. Like, this is me. And it just opens up this space for so much awareness and mindfulness, really. And so I started really questioning why I was doing the things that I was doing and if they actually felt good. And when I started learning the answers, I was like, I don't know why. I just was following these rules that like my friends were doing, or this was in the magazine. Some celebrity was following this diet or doing this exercise. Like, I should do that. They're in great shape. It'll work for me.
Mhm.
And it was this like comparison of like, well, they do it, like I should too. I didn't know another way.
Mm.
And then when I started realizing, like, I didn't want to go to the gym for over an hour every day, it wasn't realistic for me anymore. I didn't want to run and kill myself on the treadmill or do a spin class where I felt like I was literally dying at the end, or like having to do weights one day and arms and legs and like all of these things. There was so many rules that I'd created.
Yeah.
out of nowhere. And I was just like, that doesn't feel good to me anymore. So I started figuring out what did feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's my whole philosophy, really, like theory of life, is do more of what feels good to you and less of what doesn't. It can be that simple. And so when I started doing that, figuring out like, okay, I'm going to have a bowl of pasta tonight. Let's see how this sits with me. And if I got a stomach ache or, like I was starting to listen to my body, not my mind, because your mind is the one that helps you create all these unspoken rules in the first place. And when we tune back into our bodies, we figure out what actually does feel good, because that's our body's job, not our minds.
Yeah.
Our body's job is to tell us what feels really good to us. And so I started doing that. And the more it's a practice, the more you do it, the better you get at it and the better you get at listening to what you need. And so I think that's kind of where it started, was I just had an awareness over it. Started asking myself the hard questions and answering them honestly and adjusting where I felt needed adjusting.
As much as it is a practice, and I appreciate that, it does seem like there is like, for lack of a better way to say it, like a hump that you did get over. And I it all sounds very beautiful and wonderful. I'm wondering, because being a person who still feels like I have a pretty big hump to get over, is it like my personality or just generally that like asking those questions and really getting like changing, it's like you changed your whole life. Like that can't have been easy. And dare I say a little bit terrifying. Like how, like I don't know, like walk me through like when you really started to make actual changes. Like I don't know. I'm just like, I'm right there. Like I'm in the weeds of it now. And it's like, I was just having this conversation with Lena Forrestal yesterday. She was talking about like her sleep hygiene and like I'm talking to her and like this is like another little area that I want to like improve. And she's like, da, 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 da. And I was like, you know what? You're really inspiring me. But at the end of the day, I know that I'm not going to do it till I'm ready. And I'm not doing it yet because I'm not ready. And so I just like, but it's like
What
every
would make you ready?
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I just think I can't work on everything all the time.
No, definitely not.
So it's
It's all
like,
about the small steps. You have to figure out what's most important to you, because
yeah,
what's most important to you is what you will prioritize. Sometimes that's food, sometimes that's sleep hygiene, sometimes that's movement. And I mean, I work almost all of my clients and members come to me and they're like, okay, I want to eat healthier. I want to lose weight. I want to implement a movement practice. Like I'm inconsistent with it. I want to stay consistent. I want to do all these
yeah.
things. It's like, okay, well, what's most important to you? And it's finding that out, because when you think about all the things, it's like big goals. It's like New Year's resolutions. When you think big and you're like, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds this year. And in order to do that, I'm going to eat healthier and I'm going to work out every day. Okay, well, those are massive things. And when you think about it in this huge picture, it's too intimidating. So maybe you'll start for a couple of weeks. And this is what happens with New Year's resolutions. And that's why I say they should all go away. Like we should just not set New Year's resolutions, just set an intention on how you want the year to go. And when you do that, then you can focus on like, okay, what can I do right now? Like, what's the next thing? It's like one foot in front of the other. What's the next thing that is going to get me closer to my goal? What's the next thing that's going to make me feel good? And you can apply that to any area of your life. It can be sleep hygiene. It can be, what do you do right before bed? And it's like getting into a routine of asking yourself that on repeat. How does this make me feel? What do I need? What's my next step? Like there's a lot of different ways to ask a question, like whatever resonates with you. But it's when you focus on that, when you focus on right now, what's the next thing I need to get me further closer to my goals? What do I need? So it might be like if you're focusing on eating healthier and you're getting ready to grab a bag of chips, like what do I need right now to get me closer to my goals? It's probably not the bag of chips.
Right.
It maybe you're thirsty. And it's like kind of backtracking to figure out what you really need. But that ties in with what you want, because you're absolutely right. If you're not ready to make these changes, it's not going to happen. But like my biggest thing is you have to make it, especially as a parent, you have to make it realistic, because we all set these massive goals that are just not attainable and really that we don't look forward to. Like if you resist eating healthy, or you resist having a movement practice, or you resist having a mindfulness practice, or you resist putting your phone down 15 minutes before bed or whatever the thing is for you, you'll keep resisting it. And it's just finding that
Yes, I
thing.
will.
You get it, that's also a practice. Resisting is a practice. So the more you do it, the more you're going to
Oh,
resist
damn.
it. So it's just finding like what's more important for you right now in this phase of life.
Okay. This is resonating with me, mostly because I don't know if you've heard of it, but the Phoenix Journal. You heard of this?
No,
It's funny. I got it recently, and it basically is a 12-week goal book, and it does a lot of what you're saying. Like, you make 4 goals for yourself, and like it like strips them down. Like, what are my action steps?
I
What might
love
I have
that.
to sacrifice? What am I going to feel once I achieve it? What are my milestones? Like, it like breaks it all down. And I've done this, or I've created my goals, but it's funny, and they're all great goals for me. I've my therapist and I went over them. Like, we're happy with them. But I very intentionally did not do one around body and food, because this is like a long journey now for me. This is like 2+ years of trying to like unlearn all the garbage.
Girl, it takes longer than that.
Oh, I know.
You're in it. You're
I
doing it.
know. I know. So let me ask you this, because this is something that I still have trouble marrying, if you will. I now am at a point where I reject diets. Like, I have written the letter to myself. I've looked back at all of my little journals that I used to chronicle every point 2, point 3 weight of weighing myself every week. And I've done all the little programs with the little books and the little videos, and I have everything I've tracked, and I've seen that they don't work. I've seen that I'm miserable. I've seen that it's a lot of time, money, and effort for not a lot of result. But I don't know then how to reconcile that I do not want to weigh this much anymore. Like, I don't know how to, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I feel like so stuck in this one spot of like, I've I know that the diets don't work. I'm trying to just I'm in like a family goal where we all like made a goal to just move 3 times a week. And sometimes that's a walk, sometimes it's yoga. Like, I'm not killing myself in the spin classes anymore and doing all that. And I feel great. But ultimately, I don't feel great in this body. And I'm just like, I,
You know why diets don't work?
because they're not sustainable, because I don't know, I just I feel so restricted and like unhappy on them. I don't know.
Yes, that's a huge part of it, because how you feel is how you're going to feel. Diets don't work because what you focus on grows.
Uh,
And so when you focus on cutting everything out,
yeah.
that continues to grow.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so my way of doing it is you focus on adding things in. Restrictions suck. They make you feel like crap. They make you feel shame and failure when you don't do them.
Mhm.
They make you feel like they're not sustainable. They make you feel like a million different things, but they don't work because you're focusing on what you can't have
Yeah.
in that specific diet. And when you focus on not having the bread basket, all you want is the bread basket.
I know.
And then your mind is like, just have the bread, just have the bread, just have the bread. You haven't had the bread in a week, just have the bread. And you're like, okay, fine, I'll just have the bread.
Yeah.
And then you feel all of those things. You feel shame, you feel guilt. It always like comes down to some form of shame or guilt. So instead of focusing on the things that you don't want to have, or you do want to have, but you shouldn't have on this specific diet, focus on what you can have.
Mm.
Focus on adding more in that's going to make you feel good.
Mhm.
Focus on adding in, not out. And I had a member recently DM me, and she was like, just the strategy of adding more things into my diet, not restricting them out. I've eaten more vegetables in the last week than I ever have. I was like, see,
Mhm.
it can really be that simple. It's just flipping the script and start focusing on, okay, what can I add in today that's going to make me feel really good? What colors can I add in right now? What variety of foods can I add in right now? And you can kind of make it, then it kind of becomes fun and enjoyable because you're like, ooh, like what can I add?
Yeah.
And then you focus on that.
Yeah, I don't find any joy in it yet.
Focus on the joy. Focus on what brings you joy.
Yeah,
Because mindset, to be honest, mindset is a massive, massive part
I know.
of how you view yourself, how you eat, how you move, because it all starts with a thought. When you have a thought produces a feeling, and a feeling produces a craving. It produces what you're going to do. That produces a habit. And then habits on repeat become who you are. They become your identity. They become who you think you are.
Right.
And so it all starts with a thought. And so if you think you can't do it, or if you think you're not there, you think it's not joyful, it won't be. And so some of it is in the beginning, kind of playing this. It's honestly sort of a mind game at first of like catching yourself every time you, and you can even journal that,
Yeah.
catching yourself when you're like, I can't do it. Yes, you can. The only reason you can't do it is because you keep telling yourself you can't do it. That's it. And so much of it is mindset. And that's why I think for me personally, meditation has helped tremendously, and just having a mindfulness practice, because it makes you more mindful. And when you're going to eat, you're like, what do I want? Like, what's my body need right now? What's it asking for?
Hmm.
And over time, because so many times, not just with food, with everything, our mind gets in the way, and that's not our mind's job.
Yeah.
Our mind's job is not to tell us what to eat or how to move. That's our body's job. But we have learned to listen to our minds, and our mind's like, have the cookie, have the bread, have that thing. But often what it's doing is it's filling a void with something that's comforting to you.
Hmm.
And that's why a lot of people eat junk food or late night snack, is they need a feeling of being comforted. And there's something in their life that's not giving them the comfort that they need, whether it's the people or their job or themselves. And sometimes just like moving, getting up, walking around, all of a sudden you're like, I'm not really hungry anymore, because it's not really what you needed. And
Hmm.
so it's all about taking it back to like how you're thinking. What are you saying to yourself on repeat?
Hmm. It's harder than it sounds
It
for
is.
me.
This is
It's
not to
so
say it's
hard.
easy. It's
It's
not to
so
say it's
hard
easy.
because I'm even thinking about last night, like, and I don't know if this is fair. Like, this may be a cop out or an excuse, and you can feel free to call me on it if it is. But like, I'm thinking of even last night, sitting down, like my husband and I eat dinner, and then we were watching TV, and at some point I wanted a snack, and I got up and got it, and I'm sitting there, and like, I'm trying to imagine. It's crazy. Last night's a great example because I totally went against every feeling that I had in my body. I felt like I had too much energy. I had had caffeine way too late in the day, and I was like, "Whoa, oh shoot," like I need, like, I feel like I could work out, but it was like I picked up the kids and then I had dinner, and then like our routine is to sit down, and I have this feeling in my head of, if I had done the things that probably would have best served me last night, I feel I have guilt over doing that. I feel like I'm taking time away from us. I'm the one disrupting our schedule. I'm the one, like, I just have all of this like pressure and guilt on myself to maintain whatever a status quo is of our house, at the detriment of like putting of myself, because then what happened was I got in bed and I couldn't fall asleep. And then I had a crappy night's sleep because I had not built up enough tiredness. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I just
Here's something you need to
I
think about
struggle with like
is,
changing. If I change my routine, it changes a lot of other things in our house. And
yeah,
I
of course,
struggle with
you're
that.
the mom. Moms are the
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
normally, not always. It When you take care, and I know you've heard this about 1,000 times, and I'll put it a different way too. When you take care of yourself, you take care of everyone else better. But what I've come to realize, and I work a lot with parents, and being a parent myself, I see this in my own kids, in my own family. when you take care of yourself, you're showing your kids how to take care of themselves. When you put yourself first, you show your kids how to do the same thing for them. And I'll give you an example. Recently, I started playing around with having my vegetables first. Unspoken, literally never spoke this even to my husband. I just started doing it.
Like on your
And
plate, you mean?
on my plate, I eat my vegetables first. And I've started playing around with it because it's supposed to like not spike your glucose as much if you eat your vegetables first, because it coats your stomach with fiber. And so it slows down the digestion of everything and it doesn't spike your glucose as much. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a try and see if I like feel any different. So I started doing this. And my daughter, my oldest, is the one that will eat her pasta, her rice first. If I put like a cookie or something on her plate, that's always gone first. For the last week, she started eating her vegetables first.
Of course she
Literally, like ate all of her carrots. I made her a kale salad one night, ate all of her salad before she touched anything else on her plate. And I was like, huh. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I never spoke it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even say anything when she was doing it because I was like, I'm going to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
And she's been eating her vegetables first, and every day, no, but more and more. And I'm like, that's so fascinating because I just started doing that.
Yeah.
And it reinforced they see and they do what you do, not what you say.
Yeah.
And they see things you don't even realize. I was like, my mouth like hit the table and I was like, I know exactly what she's doing.
Yeah.
And it was just fascinating. And so, yes, and that takes time to restructure, because when you change your routine, it also doesn't give them the same feeling it gives you. You feel much more strongly about changing your routine than they do.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably like, yeah, great, go feel good. We want
I
you to be
know.
in a good mood. We want you to have a good night's sleep so you can take care of us tomorrow.
I know.
And your husband was the same. I'm sure you were tossing and turning and he probably didn't sleep well. So it really does, like how you take care of yourself affects not just your kids, but also your partner or whoever you live with, the people around you, your friends see it. It starts to do this little trickle effect. And I mean, I have so many friends and they're like, I was thinking of you this morning. Like, this is what I ate for breakfast. I'm like, that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But it really, I think when you start looking at it from that perspective, that helps me, because I mean, even I'm a health coach, but I don't eat perfectly. I don't eat perfectly all the time. Like, I don't do all the things that I wish I could do or had time for, but I prioritize the things that are really important to me and I make them happen no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that. You just have to find what's important and what you find joy in.
Yeah. I know, it's like, I know big picture, the take care of me thing. I think it's just in the moment, it's harder for me. Like, but maybe that's it. I have to find a way to bring the big picture into my here and now.
Well, it's
Because
giving yourself a choice.
Yeah.
Like knowing that you have a choice, because autopilot habits take the choice away.
Mm-hmm.
But when you can realize that you're in an autopilot habit, whether it's like late night snacking or snoozing your alarm and skipping a workout or, whatever the things are, realizing that in each of those moments, once you can see it, once you realize in the moment that you're doing the thing that you don't want to do,
Mm-hmm.
it gives you a choice. And that's why having awareness over it and like really thinking about it and thinking about what's important and think about the one thing in your life that you want to start changing and start seeing where you can change it. And it's really just, and then when you do one thing, it's a ripple effect. You want to do the next thing. You want to do something else because you're like, oh, that actually, I feel really good. I have more energy. My body feels better. I can do, X, Y, Z. I'm more flexible. I can run around after my kids longer. When you see the effects and the benefits of one thing, you want to do the next.
Yeah.
And everyone, like I tell every single person I work with, you already know the answers. Like you already have the solutions inside of
Lindsey.
you. I know. You just got to pull the little bricks that have been there for years and years and years up on the top off. You got to unpile it so your little, power person can come through. But once you become aware, the point being, once you become aware, you have a choice. You always have a choice. You can say consciously, yes, I still want to do this thing that I was going to do anyways. Or no, this is what I'm going to choose instead. And when you can choose without it being on autopilot. If you choose the thing, like for me, it's French fries. French fries are like one of my favorite foods. I do not eat them every day, but I'm like, okay, tonight I'm going to order a salad and I really want French fries. I'm like, how are French fries going to make me feel? I'm like, yep, going to have them. Conscious decision. Do not feel bad about it because I made the decision to have them consciously. If I'm like, those French fries are in front of me and I just start eating them, then I'm like, oh man, I didn't really want those. My stomach hurts. It's usually when you don't really want things or your body's like, no, you don't really, that's not what I'm asking for right now. That's when your body doesn't feel good because you're just doing the things that you didn't need. Your mind is telling you that. Your mind is saying like, eat those right there. Finish your kid's plate. Finish this. Have the snack. Your body's not doing that. And so it's really like realizing that you always have a choice. And where you are right now is just because of the choices that you've made. And that's okay. That's okay.
I know. Okay. I made if anyone won't be able to see us, I made like a dagger to the heart move. It's okay. I know. It's just, I see, it's so funny when I hear everything you're saying, and I won't take the time, but like I can see how I'm able to do exactly that with a lot of other aspects of my life. But this one is just so deep. Like it's more emotional than
Yeah.
any other aspect of life that I'm thinking of that I do this with already. And
But that shows you that you can do it. There's just a mental hurdle for this one area. And that's it. That's all it is.
okay. All right. How long do you meditate every day?
10 minutes. Not
Okay.
long. Sometimes I'll do longer. 10 minutes. Sometimes I'll shorter. I try to do it before I start my work day. Like today I did not. I don't have time. If I do not do it in the morning, I always do it right before bed.
Okay. And did you just to start, you just like were like, okay, let me sit down and do this, or did you start with guided ones, or like what did
Yeah,
the
so it's
process
sort of
look
a
like?
journey. Like I gave it a go years ago because I was like, meditation like seems to be this great thing that
All
everyone
the
keeps saying,
rage.
like, you should try.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I tried it years ago and I was like, this is boring. Like, I don't want to sit here with my eyes closed and like try to get rid of my thoughts. Like, this sucks.
Mhm.
And then when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I was like, okay, I want to be able to have as simple as a birth as possible. Like,
Mm,
I need to connect to and I do a lot of yoga. So I kind of was like, I already knew how to connect to my breath, but it's like, I really want to connect to my breath. And that's where it started was, okay, let's do this. And I was like, I have no idea how to meditate. Like, I don't know. Do you just sit down and like close your eyes and like think about stuff? Like, what do I
mhm.
do?
Mhm.
So I was like, I need to learn how to meditate. And
Yeah.
so I did this 30-day. I was like, I need to give myself a challenge. And so basically this
Mhm.
was my challenge. I did a 30-day, it was on the Calm app and it was with Jeff Warren and it teaches you how to meditate. And it was incredible. And I mean, I learned a ton, but what I really pulled from it was meditating is not about sitting crisscross like on the floor with your eyes closed, getting rid of all your thoughts. It's quite the opposite.
Mhm.
It's really about allowing your thoughts to come as they do and allowing them to go on their own and
Mm.
not like trying to force anything out. And so now I kind of visualize as I'm sitting in meditation, I visualize my thoughts coming and I just put them on a cloud and I like let them pass by. And it's just about acknowledging and honoring what's there and not being like, oh, don't like that thought. Let's push that away. Or, oh, this is a good one. Let's hold on to this. It's just they all can come and they all can go.
Mm.
And I have had, and so really since I was pregnant with my oldest, I've had a daily meditation practice. And it has been eye-opening. It has been life-changing. It has given me an enormous amount of creative ideas.
Mm.
There's very little time in our day that we allow ourselves to just sit with ourselves.
Mhm.
And I believe that every person is incredible deep down underneath all of the rules that we've been taught in life. And there's just been so much clarity that I've had. I'm like so much more patient in my life and parenting. And just, it has helped me in tremendous ways.
Okay. So if you could ballpark from the time you started to the time you started feeling like, "Oh, what's happening here?" Like, oh, you said because of the 30 days? Like, is
It
that
was probably the 30 days because then I was like, oh, I was doing it all wrong. Like I thought I should just sit and like not think about things. And like every time I thought, like I had to like push it away. And it's like, okay, no, like that will happen naturally. All right, that's how our minds work. Like my mind will wonder. And then I'm like, okay, oh, I realize my mind is wondering. Like bring it back. Let's bring it
okay,
back. And it's always about, it's like this practice of bringing it back.
yeah,
It was probably after the 30 days
okay,
where I was like, oh, this is really fascinating.
okay. I really like the cloud thing. That I've
It
not
is
heard
really
that
helpful.
before.
I've heard some people open the door, like you can open the door in your mind's eye and just like allow the thoughts to like go out the door and then you close them when they're gone.
Yeah,
Anything like that, that just kind of like they drift.
yeah.
Thoughts are drifty.
I like the cloud because I like to this is gonna be one of those things that maybe you have to be in my head to know, but, like, I like to watch it go, though. Like, when
Same.
I've heard the door one before, and it feels, like, too final to me. Like, it's almost like I wanna, like, see it drift all the way
You can
down the
see it. I
sky.
do the same thing. I'm like, okay, is it gone? Is it go? Okay, yep, now close the door. I do the cloud thing mostly. Um,
But I
because I
wouldn't have
think it is just
like,
like
thought of it like that. Like but as soon as you said it,
that
like, it
came to
felt
me in a
warm and
meditation.
fuzzy. Like, interesting.
Yeah. There's so many things, like my membership that I've created
Okay,
came to me in
yeah.
a meditation. So much of what I do in my business, I've come to realize in my meditations. Like there's just been so many things where when you give yourself this space to like tune out everything else that's happening around you and like really go in, it's just like quite profound.
Mhm. Okay. Oh, just a one-off question, random. Like, generally, what time do you go to bed and wake up?
I wake up at 6:30. I do my morning workout every single morning.
Mhm.
Just like wakes me up, gets me feeling good. My daughter is usually in my bed when I wake up. So she'll like do my movement with me. She'll usually just lay and like we'll chit chat while I'm like doing my yoga Pilates flow. And then I carry on my morning. And then at night, I try to be in bed like 9:30 to 10, sleeping at 9 or 10:30.
Okay. Do you do you feel like you don't? I know I don't even need to ask you. I don't like I know that I stay up later. Like, I'm a night owl. I'm much that I just have always been, even as a kid. But and I know I could probably change that. But
I was always a night person until I had kids. And then I was like, ooh, mornings are brutal with
yeah,
children when you stay up too late.
I 100% feel all of the memes, all of the things about like I just rebel against sleep because I feel like I need the time. And I know it's BS and I know all the things and I've gotten to a point where I don't feel maybe it's just my kids are getting older that, you know, I don't feel like I'm dragging during the day. I just know that I would probably be better served with going to bed, like, even just an hour earlier than I do now, but I don't know. Alright, I don't
But
wanna
look, hang on one second. I'm going to point something out. You know that that's what you should do. And your mind is taking over telling you, well, no, like we still need more alone time.
Yeah,
Like that's your natural instinct. So start thinking about how you can gain a little bit, like literally like a minute here, a minute there during the day to yourself that can help you give, like, have that feeling of, I've had some time for myself today. So you
yeah,
don't feel like it has to compile all at the end of the day. Because that, I mean, that's a real thing, especially during the pandemic and especially for parents, as
yeah,
people started going to bed later and later and later because you're like, I just need me time. Like,
yeah,
I need to recoup. I need
yeah,
to
and it was like
like feel
I
better about
wasn't
myself.
getting up and going anywhere, so,
Right.
um, alright. So, you've said it a few times, you've mentioned habits a few times. Is there anything, since that does seem to be a particular focus of yours that you wanna make sure to say here about habits that I wouldn't know to ask you or just what I don't know, talk to me about habits for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to realize that the habits that you're doing every day are making you feel how you feel. So if you feel great, great. Like what habits are you doing that are making you feel great? If you look in the mirror and you're like, "Ugh, I don't feel good. I don't like the way I look. I don't do this. What are you doing to feel that way? And like I like to say, your health and lifestyle can work together. It doesn't have to be two separate entities. It does not have to mean like if you start eating healthy and you start working out, it means you're no fun anymore. That's not true. Like, I mean, I used to think that, like my husband still thinks that. And I'm like, hi, I do this for a living now. Can you listen to me?
Yeah, I know. They're brutal.
When you are healthy, you're boring. Like that's not true. They can work together simultaneously. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm super fun when I go out, and I like have that's a mindset block. And so it's really just realizing that you can create all the habits that you want the moment you decide that you want to create them. And that's it. It can be that simple. Easy, no. Simple, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So take a few minutes before we wrap to tell the listeners and also me what what does it actually look like to work with you? What are the ways someone can work with you? And once someone like what can someone expect out of the experience of working with
Yeah,
you?
of course. So right now there's two ways to work with me. I do one-on-one coaching. And to do that, we book a discovery call. We talk about, there's a little application. We talk about your goals, what you've done in the past, really where you are and where you want to be. And I see if I can support you. If I feel like I can support you, we talk through the details of the program and go from there. It's a very personalized program. We talk about the things that and I don't tell you what to do. I offer you similar to this, like I offer you guidance and tips and support, but it's like you already have the answers and I'm just helping you pull them out. We talk, I really kind of focus on nutrition, movement, mindset, and habit formation. Like habit formation is at the core of all of those things, but a lot of it is mindset and uncovering those mindset blocks of why they're there and how we can get rid of them and how we can rewrite them. So much of it's like rewriting the programming so you can unlearn diet culture. And then I also have a membership. It's called Health Club Collective, and it's a monthly membership that focuses on the same things where there's weekly coaching lessons. So you have a week-to-week guidance of this is what you need to focus on for the week. So it helps you ditch the overwhelm of like, oh no, I need to move. I need to drink water. I need to eat healthy. I need to do all these things. It gives you a weekly focus. It's like focus on this thing. And then it really compiles and builds so that over time you have the awareness, you can choose differently. You can, do all of the things that we've been talking about. So those are the two ways to work with me. It's all the things I've done on myself that have changed my life. Health Club Collective is really home to all of the tools and the methods that I've used in my own healing process that I use with my clients. It's really quite powerful and insightful. And it's the membership is self-guided. So you can do it at your own pace. And then the one-on-one coaching is just additional support on top of that if you feel that you need that.
Cool. Okay. All right, Lindsey, is there anything that you would have wanted me to ask you today that I did not? Anything you want to leave people with?
Oh, that's a great question. No, I would just want to say that if you are a parent, being mindful of your daily habits, but also how you talk to yourself, because our kids internalize that. And my goal in my own life, my goal with my business, my mission is to create a world where we as parents can be healthy and have a healthy lifestyle so our kids don't have to unlearn diet culture like we all have had to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably will save our kids a couple bucks in therapy.
Couple bucks in therapy, a
They'll be in
lot
for
of body
something
image
else, I'm sure, but
issues.
at least it hopefully won't be hating their bodies.
Because
Yay.
they'll learn to listen to our bodies because we do it.
Yes. Yes. Okay. All right, Lindsey. Thank you so much. I obviously got a lot out of this and I appreciate your time.
Yes, this was so fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so if you're following me on Instagram, you know that I started the 30-day meditation course with Jeff Warren on the Calm app, and it is all because of Lindsey. She said it on that interview, and I felt drawn to it, and I just have taken to it. She was exactly right in her description. I've learned so much, truly. I used to try to meditate by sitting in silence or listening to a guided meditation from YouTube, or honestly, I think I even tried the Calm app back in the day. And now that I am just shy of being done with this course, I have such a greater understanding of what it is I'm actually doing while I'm sitting there. I have found a way to look forward to meditating as opposed to dreading it like I did before, because I actually feel accomplished afterwards and I feel like I'm learning something, which is just giving me a whole new perspective on it. Yeah, I don't know. I find myself making progress, which is always exciting and motivating and makes me want to come back to it. I also find myself utilizing some of the mechanics outside of the meditation practice, which I think is ultimately a big part of the importance of meditation. And actually, the day that I'm recording this was one of the days that I've connected with Lindsey on a one-on-one chat. And we talked a lot about how throughout this course, not only have I learned a lot from Jeff Warren and the app, but I've also learned about what works for me and what doesn't when it comes to meditation. You know, doing it first thing in the morning doesn't work for me. I'm too tired. It makes me want to go back to sleep. Doing it at the very last thing at night, sometimes it's great. And other times I'm so tired that I'm actually falling asleep. And that's not really meditating either. So Lindsey shared, I believe on the show, but also with me today, that she tends to meditate before she starts her work day. So her kids are off to school. She has gotten to wherever she's going to be that day, whether it's a shared workspace or her bedroom. And that is when she meditates. And now I need to try to figure out when that sweet spot time is for me. And it's tricky, honestly. I know it doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but I really want it to work this time. I want the practice to work, and I'm having success with it. So I got to play around with it. Anyway, I also loved what Lindsey said, and she said it quite a few times, that nutrition, movement, and mindset can be as simple as doing, eating, and adding more in of what feels good and taking out what doesn't. But what I really keep coming back to about that is when she said, it can be that simple, but it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. I'm living proof of that it's not easy. But I am learning how to make it simpler and therefore a little bit easier. All right, I will keep you posted on any further happenings with Lindsey, potentially in the future, any further collaborations or coaching. And in the meantime, Lindsey, I appreciate you. Thank you. I've so enjoyed getting to know you and what you do. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Sass Says is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. This podcast is meant to be educational and not meant to replace professional therapy or professional medical attention. To learn more about today's show and what's new in my world, head over to sasssays.com. Thanks so much. Talk later.